What is up, everybody, and welcome to episode 234. Wow, that's a lot of Hobby Hotline. My name, of course, is Drew, or the DH, and also on the panel today we've got King NASCAR himself, Logan. How you doing, man? Feeling better?
Yeah, I'm doing better. I'm probably 75, 80%, but I'm just glad to be here.
Good deal. And then also joining the panel, he needs no introduction, but of course, Uncle Rich Klein. What's good, man?
It's good to see everybody after the show. Our good friend Kyle Robertson, promoter of the Dallas Card Shows, going to have a little trade day with some vendors and some other things at his card store. So I'm going to head over there. It's all of a 5-minute drive from here after the
Nice.
show. So, and Drew, at this rate, we may catch up to the amount of episodes Let Me Get That Potograph is up to.
Well, definitely. I think that's going to be a given, probably. But yeah, it's up there for sure. And welcome everybody. What's up, Ziggy, 3B, Foul Ball, Stukes, Baseball Cards, Hodges, everybody. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, and everyone else. Of course, make yourself known in the comments. Any questions, anything that you'd like to discuss, of course we want to hear all about it. I'm going to drop the link right now into the chat. If you guys would like to join the show, you guys know the deal. You can call in, do whatever you would like anytime. So feel free to click that link, call in. You can do it on video or audio, any way you'd like. So make sure to click that link, call in, as we've got a lot to talk about, guys. I don't even know if we'll get to everything, but there's definitely a lot going on in the hobby right now.
I think if we go a little overtime, it won't be the worst thing in the world.
Yeah, my soccer game got canceled, so I'm good. But no, I figure
something we'll close the circle on something we spent a lot of Tuesday night talking about.
Sure.
Because you mentioned in our green room pre-chat, you talked about this in your Let Me Get That Potograph thing. We just, people were talking about people getting injured, players getting injured in the WBC. Meanwhile, we just lost a player for the season fielding a ground ball in a spring training game.
It's almost like an injury can happen anywhere at any time. I mean, like that's new news. I don't know how that's new news to sports fans, but apparently in the last week and a half, 2 weeks, it has been. But we'll touch on that later at the end of the show. But we'll dive right into it, guys. I guess, Rich, I guess we'll start out with something that you actually pointed out to me this morning. And you put it in the group chat earlier. And it's something that I personally have never seen before. I don't know if it's ever been offered to consumers in this way. I am not a massive, release date buyer. That's not how I do things. But up on the Topps website, it looks like Bowman is up for direct-to-consumer pre-sale. Now, in the past, of course, you can get it once it's released, but pre-sale, I don't know if it's ever happened before, but that's quite interesting with such a big product.
Well, first, shout out to our good friend and former co-host, Bo Spencer Thompson, who mentioned this on his A Hobby Evolution webcast, which is how I found out about it.
Okay.
So give him full credit for that.
Yes, absolutely.
And to me, this is, I've opined for how long about direct-to-consumer is the eventual end game for so many of these companies. I don't have a real problem. Whatever the price point ends up being, it ends up being. But it's also a case of getting the word out. And I suspect there will be a hobby and a retail element as well to Bowman. And it's exciting because you're not going to get shut out. If you really want it, you will pay to play, so to speak.
Yeah. Well, one thing that I was curious about in word period here does have the comment makes the print run suspect. And that kind of makes me wonder. And I was wondering if Rex, I know you own a shop, and I'm curious to know, with Fanatics and everything taking over, is Topps still doing, like, Panini basically throws a dart at the wall, and that's what their print run's going to be. But Topps always went around and polled LCSs. They had groups that they polled and asked about how much they thought they'd be able to move, etc. I don't know what all the questions they asked were because I don't own a shop. but that's how they would base their print runs on. I'm curious to see if now they're just doing the throwing the dart method, or if they still are consulting with the LCSs, the breakers, the bigger breakers that are buying massive amounts of cases in terms of print run. That's a good question. And let's see here. Ziggy No says, I want direct, no LCS or distribution needed. Montgomery Club has sticker this year. Agree, question mark. So,
well, I actually do want LCSs. LCSs play a very important role in the hobby.
Yes.
And so we can't just shut them out totally. We have to have things that go to the LCS.
Yeah.
Because not everybody knows to order direct. I think I saw a stat where like 10% of collectors or 8% of collectors is on social media. So, we may be having 1,000 people follow us on this webcast, and they can tell a bunch of people. There'll be other people who just expect to see Bowman the traditional way.
Right.
And if they get shut out, that's not a good look for Fanatics Topps. So you can't just shut out the LCSs. It can be an important component, but I am a big fan of direct-to-consumer because that will help the hobby long-term too.
Logan, what do you think?
Well, I mean, I have a question. Is this Bowman issue, is this going to be just direct only, or are they going to include hobby shops? I mean,
no, this is the regular Bowman release. They have the hobby jumbo and I think they're calling value, so blasters. They've got all of them already up for pre-sale on the website. So this isn't like a one-off just for online like Panini will do with some products and Topps has done in the past. This is the actual product.
Okay.
So it'd be
Rex
like if Panini pre-did Prism, for example.
Right.
Rex has a great comment.
Yes. I do like that. So they do not consult with you guys prior to allocating. Okay. All right. So Bowman is not into that's very interesting. And that's, I did not know that because I knew about how Topps, generally did their print run, but that's interesting. So the print run, who knows? But like Ward's comment said, that does bring into question, were the pre-sales to LCS's breakers and everything a lot lower than they thought? I can't imagine that because it's a good class and it's Bowman. I mean, for Christ's sakes, but putting it on the website is interesting. And I do agree with you, Rich. The LCSs are huge because, like you said, obviously all of us and everyone watching are on social media. And so we're involved in the social media aspect of the hobby. But from working all the collecticons, everything else, all the shows that I do across the year, a good 90% of the people that come up to the table to either submit cards to PSA, to submit to SGC, to buy cards, anything like that, when I ask them, hey, are you following this account on Instagram? They're not involved at all in the online hobby. They go to LCSs. They do old school trading. They have their friends and everything. So LCSs are vital. And I know that the Topps buyback program is going to come back this year. They announced that for LCSs. So it does look like Fanatics is, not abandoning the LCSs here and trying to move everything to direct to consumer. But I don't know. When I saw Bowman not only for sale, I get it a month after it's been released being for sale on the website if it's not selling as fast as you think. But pre-orders is what shocked me. Being able to pre-order Bowman just direct to consumer. Like 1 Million Cubs Project says, it's absolutely critical to the hobby. I completely agree.
I will point out that when I listen to Cowboys radio games, Cowboys on the radio when I'm driving home from the office, because I'll go home because then I'll watch usually the last three quarters with my wife and mother-in-law of the Cowboys games, and I'm usually listening, and there's usually an ad for the Dallas Cowboys pro shops, and all of them are owned by Fanatics, and they want people to go to their pro shops. So they understand that they own lids. That is a retail store. There are 1,200 lids around the country. Many of them are going to be carrying Topps products. They want people to go to retail outlets. They are not afraid of retail outlets for places to buy cards. So, and remember, they want to grow the hobby 10x. Even if it's 5x, it ends up growing. If this helps in some way with people who aren't fortunate enough to have, I know Herman's in the chat, and until he had a closer LCS, he had to go 2 hours to an LCS. He needs a way to have direct to consumer. That's a great comment from Rex. Again, as we pointed out, that just about aligns with the numbers we were talking about.
We've lost Drew's audio.
We lost Drew's audio. So, Drew, we lost your audio.
Yeah, I know. But yeah, I was just gonna say, Ziggy, to answer your question, the Brady auto, yes, it is supposed to be in Bowman, so that would be where the Brady auto is as well.
Yeah, and Topps has announced there will be Brady autographs in Bowman. So
yes, yep, absolutely.
Yeah.
So do you think this is going to be something that we see from Topps now? Now, Rex, someone did mention earlier that before they do this, they need to overhaul their website. I completely agree with you on that, as I went to school and was actually dorm mates with the person who runs the company that makes Topps website. And I can tell you that they definitely need to hire another company, and they definitely need to get that fixed ASAP. Ziggy saying right here, he wished Walmart had hobby boxes instead of allocated to the LCSs. So Ziggy's on the fence of not wanting to have LCSs around and moving it to bigger chain stores and stuff, I think. And I think, honestly, like you said, Rich, their goal, 10X. If you're going to 10X it, I mean, you're already seeing, you saw Series 1 billboards in Times Square, which I thought was awesome. You're actually seeing real advertising for cards. I think you're not far away from seeing some of those Fanatics commercials where they're showing you 20 different t-shirts they have, also showing a lot of trading cards and stuff they offer. Expect that on major sports broadcasts, any sports channel, I'd assume, right around when the licenses switch over. But I don't see why they both can't exist. They do now, and you want to grow the hobby even further. Why? I just don't see why they can't both exist.
Well, they should both be able to coexist. I think I agree with both you guys that LCSs are crucial to the hobby. I will probably go to my LCS today, and I will probably buy something from them. I think that Fanatics is, I think they are trying to cut out as many levels of, the resale as they possibly can. They're trying to definitely cut out the distributors. And I think a lot of this may sound bad, but I think a lot of it's just motivated by profit and how much money can they make? How much money can they keep for themselves? So, because they know on the secondary market that prices are going to go up, and they're like, well, hey, why can't we get some of this secondary market money?
That has always been one of Fanatics' comments. We want to be involved in the whole, we'll call it the whole experience, from beginning to the end point where it's the consumer.
That's their business model for everything.
That aligns with that. And Ziggy, about LCSs, a couple weeks ago, I got a DM from one of my LCSs. They sent me a DM that, they know that I run we'll call it the charity, a show for my synagogue brotherhood. It's a nonprofit show. Everything can get, it gets written off. I went in there on a Sunday. I said, let me go pick it up. Let me pick up your cards. And I went, and they had very nice cards. The cards were so nice that the person who bought them from me said, do you have more? Yeah. So he finished buying them out today. Mm-hmm. And one of the things was, I was in there on a Sunday afternoon. They had 15 people in the store on a Sunday afternoon. It was great to see. It was like a little card bar. They had 4. I call It's a store called The Beast. It's got 4 TVs. It's got like a little card bar. It's got showcases. It's got a breaker table. It's the model of a modern card store. It's also a place where collectors, breakers, people can meet.
Yes.
And anytime you can have a situation where people can meet, it's a good thing. Ziggy, if you want to be off on your own, that's fine. I happen to like talking to card people. That's just me.
Yep, absolutely. I completely agree.
Oh, and I will say there was obviously some good card stores and some bad card stores. But I'm
100%.
SW area. We have a lot of very good card stores. I don't even get to go to all of them.
Well, see, we don't. I mean, we don't have many around here in the North Carolina area. We're starting to get more, but luckily, a lot that we do are very good stores. And sure, some are overpriced, sure, some aren't. But also, if you build those relationships with LCSs, I know when I first started going to one in particular, I was just a random customer. I was paying pretty much sticker on everything. But as I was a repeat buyer, deals got amazing. Things happen, you build relationships. But like you said, it's also where a lot of people can congregate together. A lot of hobbyists meet. Like you said, a lot of people don't buy online. Like Rex said, I think maybe 2 people buy online out of every 10. So I mean, they all serve a purpose. I think this is, like Rex said, a little silly of a debate on if LCSs need to exist. Of course they do. They serve their purpose in the hobby, whether you want to go to them or not. The good thing is you have card shows, you have Walmart, you have online, you have all these other outlets if you don't want to go to them. But they definitely serve a great purpose, and some of them are just a blast to go into. I mean, a lot of times, like we're sitting here talking the hobby and talking with you guys in the chat and just having fun talking the hobby. I love doing that in person at a hobby shop, even if I walk out of there with just a pack of penny sleeves. Like, it's just a fun experience.
I pay more, and granted, they give me donations, but I pay more for supplies at my LCS than I do even at the card shows.
Right.
Why? Because I want to support them. They do things where you can't do it online. Card collecting is not a solitary hobby.
Yeah.
Yeah, not anymore. I mean, back in the 70s, it kind of was.
Logan, in the 70s, but you went to the Chicago Collector Club shows in the 70s.
I did go back in 1975. I mean, and that was my first introduction to the organized hobby. I had no idea at that point in time that grown men actually collected cards, because I was only like 15, 16 years old. So
yeah, no,
that's
absolutely.
About when I first went to my first card store was about 1975, and
my mom was probably thinking
77.
At that time. My mom was probably thinking about my son, about the budget she would have to give me to collect cards in a couple of years, but no, I totally understand everything. This is interesting from Rex. Topps has actually doubled the number of direct hobby shop accounts in the last year, up to over 500. That's awesome. And like I said, I do think just based on the Topps conference and everything that I heard there, and everything that we see them doing, I think LCSs are a major factor in their future. But going back to the original point before we move on, seeing Bowman as direct to consumer online as a pre-sale was quite interesting to me. I that was something that I did not expect to see. Maybe with a series 2 or an update or a Chrome Mega or something like that, I could kind of see. But to see something as big as Bowman having pre-sales, that was definitely an eye opener to me. Let's see. All right. Couple other in the chat. We still have a monthly card show in the Twin Cities, 48 years. Yes, we've got a couple. We actually have more card shows in North Carolina than we do card shops. Like my closest card shop outside of a very small one here in Wilkesboro that really doesn't qualify as a shop is probably 45 minutes to an hour away. But there's card shows all the time, a lot closer. So yeah, it is good that we're seeing some things, but very interesting seeing what Topps is doing with Bowman. But guys, we'll move on now since a lot of people are going to be breaking Bowman. I guess now is a good time to transition into something that's kind of taken over some of the online aspect of the hobby in the last couple of days. It started with a guy on Instagram, Denny's Cards, great account. He does a lot of good stuff for the hobby. He started looking at a lot of whatnot pages, and at least three pretty big companies, and they're going through a lot more, have been caught hiding cards, taking cards off of a page, keeping downtowns, keeping I think it was a Topps Chrome Black autograph was another one, but a lot of bad breakers popping into the area all at once. Which, and I've got my feelings on this, and I'll touch on them after I hear from you guys. But what do you guys think about, the whole idea of, because there's this big thing out now, oh, it's whatnot. All the breakers on whatnot are terrible, blah, 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 blah. And, I disagree with that, but there are some problems right there, but you got to give whatnot credit. They are taking care of the problems. They're refunding the people, they're banning the breakers. But what do you guys think about whatnot and this bad breaker kind of, I don't know if you'll plague if we have it.
It sounds like kind of a plague, but I don't do anything on whatnot whatsoever. So I'm not familiar with the platform. But what I can say is that, anytime that there's big money involved, you're going to get greedy people. You're going to get people that are going to do shady things. And that's what's happening here. I think it's bad to have a blanket statement that everything on whatnot is bad, because, I certainly don't know that since I'm not on the platform, and I'm sure that it's not. It's just a few bad apples, make it bad for everybody else. But I do think that whatnot needs to address this problem. Either kick these breakers off. I don't know that they can find them or do anything like that.
Right.
But they can definitely, kick them off and not allow them on the platform. Now, as far as people getting cheated and things like that, issuing refunds, that's all fine and good. But, if I'm on there and I'm on a break and there's a card that I'm supposed to get that I'm not going to get, a high-end card, I'm going to be really mad about that.
Yes.
Refund or not, that's going to make me mad. Mm-hmm. So, and that's going to jade me towards that platform. So, they've got to clean it up for sure.
Yes. One quick thing before Rich comments, Kevin Jones, the streams are archived. And if you go into whatnot, you can click on the tab called past shows, and you can any reputable, real, true breaker will leave every single one of their shows up. If you go to ours, every single past show is archived. At the beginning, it wasn't. But now when they added that, all your past shows were archived as well. So they are. And if you have a question, you can email support and say, I'd like a copy of so-and-so stream that day, and they will send it to you. Just wanted to address that real quick.
I will also point out that we were talking about local card stores. Well, if a local card store, an LCS, does breaks, you can actually be in there while they're doing the break, unless they do it after hours. You can then pick up your cards in person.
Yes.
You don't have to worry about something being shipped.
Mm-hmm.
If you're following the stream, you'll know exactly what's going on. And if your LCS does breaks and screws up, their word of mouth is shot. And Drew, you run very legitimate breaks on whatnot.
Yes.
There's, I'm going to say you may have because you're a human being, you may have screwed up something along the way. But
of course, last week I accidentally shipped the giveaway to the wrong person, but I contacted the people that were in the break, found out who had it. They shipped it to the other one. I paid for it. Problem solved.
Right. And then you fix the problem.
Yeah.
That's the whole key. It happens. People make mistakes, but these are deliberate thievery. That's a big difference.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, 100%. And Mad City, exactly. Don't just dive into, and that's something that I tell people that jump into our stream all the time. I say, hang out, and see if you like the community. If you do, jump on in. If not, there's a lot of other ones out there. Now, Jim L, I believe, did say yes earlier. I do agree that Whatnot does. They've gotten a little loose with vetting people. At the beginning, there was a pretty long process. Then the line got so long of people wanting to sell on Whatnot, them opening up from cards to clothing to coins to Funko. I mean, electronics, anything you want, you can find it on there. It is not just a card breaking platform anymore. And I actually think that those other areas will take over the card breaking platform side of Whatnot sooner than later. But you just got to find the right people. But yes, it is. If I agree with what you said, Logan, if the refunds and stuff really aren't enough, because obviously, that's a massive card. And if I'm paying $100 to get into a break and I'm hitting a card that I know is like couple thousand or something, or has the potential to be the full case hit of the product, me getting my $100 back isn't making me feel any better. So
it makes me feel really mad.
Right. So I don't know how you can really find that happy medium, but I think it's something that any company, and we're singling out Whatnot, other places like Loop, Card Shop Live, lots of different places, which Card Shop Live, they actually vet their breakers heavily. But they do need to come to some type of happy medium to try and, compensate the people that are getting screwed over. So just
totally
my
agree. Yeah,
one
I saw
of
a
my
comment.
one of my LCSs does Restream. He's on Restream. I've never heard of it, but there's another platform out there.
Yep. And also, yes, there is. And White Sox Tom, it's actually 10.9 plus 30 cents every sale. That's the selling fees on Whatnot. But yeah, so you've got a couple, platinum breaks, local North Carolinians that give us all a bad name. Don't go with them. But
are they worse than backyard breakers?
They're just straight up thieves. Like they're just straight up thieves. Well, I guess so that would put them on par with backyard breakers, but yeah, right around there. But yeah, so there's been quite a few. If you want to check out any of that information and stuff, Denny's Cards over on Instagram has a lot of the videos. I know they've been shared by a lot of people. But I mean, the overarching theme is that there's a lot more good places on Whatnot than there are bad. I will say, however, that with the age of consumer on Whatnot being skewed towards the younger generation, your more popular channels and the ones with tens and 20,000s of viewers are going to be a little bit on the wild side. They're not going to be maybe the community you want to find. But if you do search on there, you'll find some amazing communities. We have a great one. I know of about 20 or 30 other ones that are just a blast. And they're also breakers that you would buy breaks from their website and that very well. A lot of very prominent breakers are on there at the same time as well. So be careful, I guess is all we can say. But if you haven't seen it, tons and tons of news coming out with Whatnot. We'll see, what happens with all of that.
Yeah, I want to make one more comment real quick. Pertaining to the people that do shady things, online with breakers and whatnot and all that.
Sure.
I just don't understand, and maybe somebody can explain it to me, why when somebody is actually called out and they're doing something wrong, yet people still will buy into breaks with them and still do business with that company. Somebody explain that to me, because once I see that, I'm done. Maybe it's me being old school or whatever, maybe the kids these days have a different view of that. But to me, that's wrong. And I think that should be detrimental to their business, but apparently it's not.
Yeah, well, they honestly, there's a lot of these breakers that, a lot of breakers will have their regulars, that some people that supported them from the beginning, and they'll give them lots of lots of perks, lots of incentives, lots of, free spots and breaks. But, it kind of gives people that idea of, comfort and knowledgeability with, that person. So I think they get those people to stick up for them. But I'm right there with you. Like we were just talking about Platinum. They have been, I mean, if you see the stuff on them, it's brutal. It's not as simple as taking a card. It is, there's some very bad stuff that's going on there. Yet they have no problem whatsoever. I don't get it at ever, except for, like Brendan Ryan says, is the hobby collectively has a short-term memory. And I think
Yes,
that is
it does.
very, very true. Because, I mean, when I was an admin of the scammers page for the longest time, you'd see someone get called out for scamming. Yet 8 months later, they're running a business and 50,000 people are in their room, and, they're doing everything like nothing ever happened. So
Mhm.
I can't get into that thought process.
I think you pointed out something very interesting. You called them wild, a lot of these people.
Yeah.
A lot of these people are following it for the shtick. They may not even be buying the cards.
Oh,
They're following it for the
Good
shtick.
point.
well, that's actually very true. And if you look at some of the briggers with the biggest numbers on a loop or a whatnot and things like that, they're not snap filling breaks all night. Like,
No.
I'll sit there and watch sometimes or click in and just take a look, and they'll be sitting there for 45 minutes to an hour and not fill a break, even with that following. So it's not like you've got that following and boom, this case is done. Oh, the next case is sold. Now, yeah, release dates, special events, sure, that happens. But on a 24/7 everyday thing, absolutely not. It's the shtick. It's the oh, what are they going to do today? Or oh, what are they going to say? And really, it's no different than me. I mean, I'll turn on a podcast or from someone in the hobby, someone here on Hobby Hotline or something like that, and I'll listen to it in the background. I think that's a lot of what it is as well, when it comes to that stuff. But it is what it is.
Yeah, I there's one comment that I like on here from Jerry.
Yes.
Who cares about whatnot? When will a company bring back sticks of gum to packs? Yes, I want gum in packs because I remember
Maybe that's Fanatic's big announcement that's going to change the hobby forever that they can't live up to. maybe it's just a troll job to say, hey, we're putting gum back in packs, because I mean, you can't live up to that statement. So maybe that's what it is.
Yeah.
Speaking of announcements that will change the hobby,
Yeah,
Drew, you're making a trip in the next week or so.
I am.
So tell us about your trip next week.
Well, headed down to Vegas for the Mint Collective. I'll be covering it, obviously, for me at that Potograph, and also for Hobby News Daily. Be doing some of that, which launches April 1st, by the way. Week away, guys. A lot of awesome stuff there. But yeah, we headed down to the Mint, and looking forward to it because, we were talking about card shows earlier. The Mint's unlike any other card show. I hesitate to call it a true card show, as it's more of a trade show, more of a networking experience. Now, there will be lots of cards you can buy. I know we're set up to take in cards for PSA and stuff like that. So there is going to be stuff you can do and stuff you can buy, but it's not rows of dollar boxes, cards from $1 to, 10,000, it's much more of a high end and a networking type of show, but definitely looking forward to it because it's an interesting experience. They do a good job of making the vendors and the people coming there really feel like you're a part of something. And the panels, especially if you want to learn about this hobby, if you want to get more involved in this hobby, I think the Mint is the place to go, because that's where you're going to get those connections and make those connections that are going to help you further a career in the industry if that's something you're looking to pursue. So headed down to the Mint. It's going to be a lot of fun. Peyton's going to be there, Sabrina Ionesca, and a bunch of others. So it'll be interesting.
There's also been talk of a lot of announcements being made at the Mint.
Tons. Yes.
Plus, as I like to say about the Mint, if I were 20 or 30 years younger and looking for a job in the business, as you pointed out, it is the ultimate networking experience.
Mm-hmm.
It's where you would go, and some of it would be, I'm not really a techie person, so I probably wouldn't fit in well with most of these tech companies trying to do things that you do on your phone. That's probably not where I'm going to end up. But if I were younger and more phone agile, I would probably say, hey, that's where I really need to go to talk to people.
Yes.
Whether it's a job, whether it's a consultant job, whether it's I want to use your service. Plus, it's in Vegas. There's fun things to do in Vegas.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
There's fun things to do in Vegas.
Oh, yeah, and on those tech companies, there was one last year. I don't remember their name, but I listened to about a 20-minute spiel on stuff, and I'm technologically savvy, and I had no clue what they were talking about and what their business was doing. But they were offering free massages with professional masseuses, and that was awesome. So I got about a 20-minute massage while they were talking to me about that. So that was nice.
I'll take the 20-minute massage anything.
Exactly. But yeah, we'll be headed down to the Mint, but it does look like there's going to be quite a big, a slew of announcements from a lot of companies. I would expect, I know Panini has something that they're going to be doing. I know that, I would venture to guess that Fanatics and Topps is going to have something to say pretty big. I do know for a fact that Beckett has a couple announcements that are coming, and I would imagine a lot of other companies as well. I know ComC is going to be there as well, right, Rich?
Our new VP of sales, I believe that is his position, is going to be doing one of the talks there.
Oh, so, that's what I thought. Okay, I thought so.
And I was told by somebody that we very well may have an announcement there as well. I am so far down on the food chain, I have no idea what it is. Do not ask me. I do not know, and frankly, I don't want to know until it's announced.
Yeah,
I don't want to know these things because I'd rather just stay in my little world.
Yeah. So, no. I and like I said, and like Ziggy said, he disagrees and doesn't like the Mint. The Mint is absolutely not for everybody. That's why I prefaced it with this is not a card show as opposed to more of a networking aspect. But just because it's not run by Collectibles, a sponsor of it, but it's not all about the technology and the fractional share ownership. All of the major companies, the major people in the hobby, a lot of them are setting up at this to show you the stuff that they're working on, to show you the stuff that's coming up. And like I said, this is they do get a lot of hobbyists because the Vegas area surprisingly doesn't get a ton of shows. And there's a lot of people in that area that make that trip just to check it out. It was jam-packed last year, but it is not, like I said, it's all about what you're going there for. If you're going to look through dollar boxes and try and find steals on slabs, whatever it may be, no, it's absolutely not for you. But if you work in the industry, want to work in the industry, and want to discuss the industry with other people and network, as well as the talks are amazing. Like even a common hobbyist can learn a ton from the talks. And so, it is what it is. But yeah, of course, it's not everyone's cup of tea. No, nothing's everyone's cup of tea.
Bo just had a great point. We have a big country. We had 3 big shows that same weekend of the Dallas Card Show, and the Philly show was great. I heard Nashville was very good. So 3 big shows around the country.
Yep. And now that's something personally, and I want y'all's opinion on this as well, that frustrates me, because as someone that likes to that travels across the country all year for shows, I want to be able to hit all of those shows up. And even if they're a week apart, I'll take a 4-week period and just say, okay, these next 4 weekends, I know I'm hitting these up. But I would think they would want to stagger them some as they get bigger. Chantilly, for example, huge on the East Coast, especially right near me. It's one of the more talked about shows of the year. if I'm them, I want to put that at a time when nothing else is going on, instead of when multiple big other shows are going on, because you have a much better chance of bringing in, maybe it's PSA, JSA, whoever it could be, Golden, Heritage, whatever. You're going to have a much better chance than if there's 3 other shows going on that are commanding these companies' attentions. Like that 70s card show says, Chantilly and Philly. Yes, they work together and stagger. And yes, I know venues aren't always available, but it would be nice if there weren't so many big ones going on at once.
By the
That's
way,
just
John Keating, that 70s card show, with the work he's done over the years for all the rock artists he's traveled with, I think he knows about venue availability better than any of us.
Oh, trust me. Yeah. I mean, hey, I was a touring musician for 10 years. I know, I get it about booking.
Okay, I apologize, Drew. I forgot that you were also.
Yeah, I mean, I toured and we booked our own shows, so I dealt with the vendors. We didn't have a label, so we were booking we did eventually, but at the beginning, we were just booking our own shows. I totally get venue availability and things like that, but if you set it up far enough in advance, venue availability is not going to be that big of an issue. And so I understand that, yes, there's going to be card shows, and having them on both sides of the country, say Dallas and Chantilly, if they're the same weekend or anything like that, having 2 big shows across the country is a great thing, because it's getting the entire hobby immersed at the same time, in across the entire country. It's just, from a person who likes to go to the shows, I hate that I have to miss one, and I hate that I have to pick one to have to go to. Not saying there's an easy answer to it, just frustrating.
Yeah. Here's a comment that I liked. You put that one up there. I saw that Foul 5 Ball, he thinks ComC may be releasing an app. That's what I was going to say.
I hope so. I have no idea.
Rich is writing the code for it now.
Yeah, that's what I
thought. We have one of the best code writers in the company, who's our founder and the owner. I can't write code to save my life. Do not have me involved in any of it.
Yeah, ComC needs an app, though. I think that would be just incredible to have an app.
By the way, Mookie's got a great comment, because I've been to the Garfield, New Jersey card show.
Yes.
It is Mookie, I don't remember how many tables it is, but it's 75 or 100 tables, once or twice or 3 times a month, depending on the circumstance. And it's really a fun show. It's cheap to get into. It's run for the Boys and Girls Club. There's plenty of parking. John, my office is much cleaner than it has been, so we will
had to throw that one up. And no, just to address a couple of comments in the chat, I totally understand that making a special schedule for the minority and things like that is totally out of the question. I was simply stating, as a person that does travel to a bunch of shows, I hate having to miss some of them. That's all that was. I'm not saying that I think that every show needs to look at the calendar and make sure that no one else has this date reserved. Of course, that's absurd. They're not working together in the first place. But, as a person that goes, it'd be nice to be able to go to more. That's all it is. But
Drew, there's a cadre of dealers that will travel the country.
Yeah.
And you're in that cadre, but we know from experience. And I know from experience, most card shows, even the really big ones, are just, if the bigger the show is, it's still a local card store. It's
very much
card show. It's just a bigger, Chicago might get people from 2 to 3 hours away. I remember back in the Parsippany National in '84, we would have buses come from about 3-4 hours away.
Yeah.
And that was one of those things where, that they were big things for those people. They were one-day bus trips. I remember Albany Club, I think 100 people, and because I used to do the Albany show, so of course they all hit my table. It was wonderful to see them. But the Albany Club came down. It was a 3-hour trip. They all took on the bus. Talk about a collaborative experience.
No, absolutely.
Well, if I was, if I was in the hobby or that was my full-time job, it'd be one thing to be able to travel every week, but I am certainly not in a position to travel weekly to card shows. I mean,
Right.
for me, the National is one I definitely go to every year. I try to hit at least one Dallas card show a year, maybe one or two Nashvilles, and then past that, for me, it's all just local. I mean, that's about the extent of how much I get to travel, as far as the hobby is concerned.
And
Yeah.
somebody, and Drew, you pointed out about like JSA or Heritage.
Mhm.
One thing I do know is ComC has now, I'll call it a traveling team
Yes.
of people who set up. It's my
Yep.
Dallas area teammates, Angela and Stefan, are in Phoenix this weekend for the show. They're going to Minneapolis next month. They do all the heavy lifting of, at the Dallas Card Show. I'm just there as the pretty face.
Yeah.
But there's other people too that travel to various shows around the country for ComC. JSA has people, they can be in more than one location at the same time. Heritage has a big enough staff, they can be in more than one location at the same time.
Yeah.
So it affects them only who goes where, but the really bigger operations do have enough bodies and enough experience where they can send people. Becca Grady,
they can have some sort of footprint. Yeah, they can easily have some sort of footprint in multiple times in multiple areas. Absolutely. Let's see here. Hobby News. Thank you, Hobby News Daily. White Sox Tom says you need to have the National on the West Coast. That's something that
Joe Oliva has a great response because that's coming up, and
yes,
and that will be Labor Day weekend, which is to a large extent the 43rd anniversary, because the Labor Day weekend 1980 was the very first National in Anaheim.
Yeah.
So it is the anniversary of the first National.
Yep. And also, I think that Burbank show, that this is actually, it's funny that was the comment, because this is where I was going with that. What the guys have done over at Burbank Cards and all their partners getting that show together has been incredible. And I actually think that if they keep their momentum and keep the uniqueness of it going, I can easily seeing that as being quote unquote called the West Coast National in 5 years. Like it's that big and has that big of a presence, and it could easily be a destination event within 5 or 6 years. Now, whether it commands the same attention as the National, who knows? But that's tough. The National does have a pretty long head start on that, but I do see that show and their shows, since they're doing multiple, being a destination event such as the National very, very soon. But I completely agree right here with that 70s card show. That I do hope the regional shows maintain their uniqueness. I don't want to see shows homogenizing, and I completely agree with you there. The difference between our Hickory shows and our Charlotte shows and our Raleigh shows compared to the Mint or the National, like, I love the differences. I love the small shows in a mall. Those are some of my favorites. I definitely don't want to see them all the same.
And even the big Dallas Card Show, we set up our ComC booth in the Starlight Room, which is the smaller 100, and that room is basically a large Dallas area card show.
Yes,
it is mostly local people. There are some people there because that room is also used for the official trade night. But there's about half the room is a large Dallas Card Show.
Yep.
So in a sense, even within the Dallas Card Show, there's still the local Dallas Card Show element in that show. And that's really cool. Where the big room, the 400 table room, that's the homogenized room. The Starlight Room, that room's more fun.
Yeah. The Starlight Room definitely has its own vibe.
Yes, it does.
And we're a big fan of carpeting on the floor.
Oh, yeah, yes. Starlight Room, that's the best part about it. Anytime you can have a card show and you can find carpet, that's a necessity for sure.
And as we're starting to wind down, I want to transition to something you and I have talked about.
Yes.
And we have somebody who himself we'll call him a specialized collector because he's PSA Hall of Famer on his category in NASCAR. But Fanatics made an interesting announcement this week as well.
Yep. Yeah, I'm going to let you do it. I'm just excited. What's the announcement, Rich?
They're going to be doing tennis cards.
Topps Chrome Tennis is coming. I love it. I love it. I love it. Topps Chrome Tennis has been announced. What I know, I'm an oddball collector. I've been collecting tennis for about the last 5 years. A lot of the Net Pro, a lot of the old school stuff. About 5 years ago, I started doing it because my mom was a really big tennis player, and I really started collecting them to show her some of the tennis cards and things like that. But yeah, Fanatics bringing out Topps Chrome Tennis, and I'm sure a bunch of other releases. Pretty awesome. I love it. I think it's awesome.
And I am a big tennis fan, and I talked about my days. I did tennis stats at Wimbledon in 1987 and the U.S. Tennis Open 84-90. I'm a big tennis fan, and I love tennis. The problem is, and I don't follow tennis obviously nearly as closely as I did then.
Yeah.
But the players aren't nearly as famous as they were then.
Right.
I mean, try to name the top 10 women's players. Good luck with
that. I couldn't even begin to.
Yeah.
I mean, in the men's, we were dominated by so many years by big three, big four. That is transitioning, and there might be one or, the number one player is a really good young player. I get that. But again, Nadal just fell out of the top 10.
Yeah.
After all these years, 19 years. But the point is there's a transition, and you have to build up who the players are as well. And tennis has one problem. We'll call it the major sports the card companies have, with the other sports that they don't have in tennis. And it's the same problem racing has. It's a sport not held in the same place. Yes, Daytona's in the same place every year, but you have a weekend.
Right.
Tennis, the most you have is maybe 3 weeks at any of the 4 majors and Indian Wells. It's a transitional sport. You don't stay in the same place. And so you don't get a place, you don't have home teams. I know there's still WTT World Team Tennis, but that's not really an important part of tennis either. It's hard to generate local interest. You're there for the week and then they go to the next place.
Exactly.
And so I would actually do tennis as a region. I would do that. That would be what I would do as a direct-to-consumer sport.
Oh, yes. Absolutely.
Definitely. I don't see that showing up in LCS as much.
No, I don't either. And speaking on that in the comparison to NASCAR, Logan, do you think that NASCAR also would benefit from a lot more D2C products as opposed to just putting them out in hobby shops, putting them out maybe some blasters at Walmart, because they are a lot of it's very similar to tennis in that way.
Well, NASCAR pretty much is already direct to consumer. My LCS is there's only one out of the 3 that carries a little bit of NASCAR here in town. So, if I want to go buy at an LCS, there's only one place I can go. So, I'm kind of forced in a way to almost have to buy online, which, I do quite a bit. Of course, you have your Targets and your Walmarts, you can get your blasters, but, that's certainly not the same as hobby boxes. So if I'm wanting hobby, then a lot of times I have to buy that online. But,
sure.
As far as tennis is concerned, some of the things that I would love to see, wouldn't it be cool to have like a Billie Jean King and Bobby Riggs dual cut autographs on a card? Wouldn't that be just incredible?
Yes.
Or John McEnroe on a, I mean, those things would just be incredible.
McEnroe and Line Judge dual auto. I mean, come on now. Possibilities are endless. What's going on, U.S. Sports Cards? Just jumping in. Let's see. Mike Summer, 347 out of 337,000. See here. We did. I wanted to address this. I'm not the one that works with ComC. That is Uncle Rich. But Dennis, negatives on eBay simply has to do with you see the same thing when it comes to almost any consigner that has been around for a while. People get frustrated, people get upset, and a lot of negatives are left just for the hell of it. There's really, I personally buy cards from ComC on their website and on eBay every single week, and never have a problem whatsoever uh, at all. So,
I will also state, if you get a problem, it will get fixed. And
yes,
if you're having any problem, you can always contact me directly, and at least copy me, and I'll stay informed on any. And I've done that for my friends. Back in the day, I would say just copy me on any email you send to ComC, and that way I'll stay in the loop. And if something comes up, I'll know what's going on too. So it's good for me as a ComC employee just to keep up with things like that. So I've always been a big fan of, hey, take care of things. And a couple of my LCSs, and both times it was not a ComC issue, had some issues in the buyback program. And each time I stayed on it to make sure they got taken care of.
Nice. One thing I do want to address in regards
to their issues, not.
Yeah. One thing I do want to address in regards to tennis, Colin Murray says, like golf, they're making tennis cards because of the money. Of course, they see an avenue to make money, but also I'm a massive golf collector. I've been playing golf since I was 5 years old. I know a ton of people that love to collect golf. I've been buying up every golf card I could find since I was a kid. Tennis, there's a lot of tennis fans. They make lacrosse cards. Guess what? I just took in a submission of about 1,500 of them, all for a guy's PC. A lot of people in these markets aren't necessarily doing it like they are the NFL, NBA, MLB markets, where it's a flipping market, a selling market. A lot of people that are in this are actual collectors, people that want the cards in their sets. And if there is a demand for it, which go look at the post when they announced tennis was going to be coming, a lot of people were very excited. So if there's a market for it, why would you not want to satisfy those people? So, I mean, of course, any company is doing anything for money, but if there's a market for it, why not put it out? If there's not a market, it won't last. I mean, it's as simple as that.
And remember, with these smaller direct-to-consumer sports, you don't need a big market.
No.
You're printing to order. I mean, look how many cards get printed on a lot of Panini Instant or Tops now.
Yeah. Oh yeah, very, very few. I mean, even look at soccer, which isn't a small sport whatsoever. Revolution just came out. We did the math the other day. There's less than 3,000, looking at about 2,200 or so cases total produced. That's not a lot for a product that you're not putting out a ton of. So, you don't need, like you said, that big, massive market, especially when you are doing more print to orders. If they're putting out Topps Chrome, there's not going to be 850 different parallels to complete a rainbow. You're not going to need a book. There's going to be 5 or 6, maybe 7 parallels, including the 101 and the refractor. So, I mean, it's just a smaller set, but there's, that type of stuff is awesome. Look at people, I'm sure, thought that making music cards was stupid a long time ago. Look at what the Nirvana card's going for now in a good PSA grade and how much that's enhanced. There's a market out there for somebody on almost anything.
Yeah, I tell you, there's a couple of, being a motorsports guy, there's a couple of licenses I would like some of these companies to pick up. I'd like to see NHRA cards or even IndyCar cards. They used to have those, but they just haven't had them in the last several years. I'd like to see somebody pick those licenses up. Topps, Panini, somebody.
Mm-hmm.
So,
No, so would I.
And we'll
Absolutely.
definitely have pickleball cards in the very near future.
Yes,
that's
pickleball will happen. I guarantee you somebody ends up getting up on pickleball. That's definitely going to happen.
Okay.
And I think on that note, it's probably a good time to wrap up this week's show as we are at our time limit. I did want to make a couple of announcements. Wanted to first welcome Mike Junkwax Hero is joining the Hobby Hotline crew. So he will be making his appearance here in April. Wanted to give him a nice welcome and shout outs. Look forward to seeing him on Hobby Hotline as well coming up. But yeah, great episode, guys. Always a pleasure. Thank you guys, everyone in the chat for everything that you guys do. And please feel free to call in. It's been a couple shows that I've been on where we haven't had any guest callers. You don't have to show your face if you don't want to. You can call in with audio, but make sure to call in, talk, ask us any questions you got. We love interacting with you guys. But Rich, Logan, anything you guys would like to say before we sign off?
Enjoy the hobby and go to your local card store and
Yep.
local card show.
Yep. Have fun. Collect what you love.
There you go. Well, guys, we will be back next week. So make sure to tune in. Of course, you can check us out over on all of our social medias at Hobby Hotline as well. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Have an awesome weekend, and we will see you next week. Peace.